some of the new things that I found recently. I've probably got enough projects here for 2 months or more. But this is a Sylvania solid-state AM-FM radio. And it does work, although the controls really need to be sprayed. Here's an AFCO tube-type radio made by Sansei Electrical of Japan. And it works perfectly. It's got all ceramic capacitors in it, so there's no bad paper caps. And the electrolytics still seem to work, although I'll probably eventually replace them, just to make sure that they'll keep working in the future. Here's a microcassette dictation machine. This is a Lanier. I like the speaker grill on that, and I think this is going to need a belt replacement. It does work, although the tape ends up getting jammed in it because the take-up reel isn't working properly, just probably because of a bad belt. Here's a 1977 GE Portacolor. This is the absolute latest tube-type device I've ever seen. I'll try and get it turned around here and check the date codes on the tubes. Here's one of the tubes, and you'll notice this Compactron logo looks a little different than usual. The text is smaller. This is actually made in 1977, 188.5, General Electric, made in Owensboro, Kentucky. And of course it's just the same as all the other Portacolors. It is the high focus voltage model. But I think this may have a burned out tube because there's no indication of power at all. There's no filament lighting up at all. But I've got a junk Portacolor that was left outside and got really rusty, so hopefully I can salvage some tubes out of it to get this one working. This is an airline radio. This is actually a Westinghouse. It's a lot like one that I had when I was a kid that's still at my parents' house. It's a twin speaker tube type AM radio. Here's a Panasonic solid state radio. The dial light comes on, there's a little hum from the speaker, but there's no audio. Here's a Heathkit sweep and marker generator. Now I'd like to be able to use this to align FM radios. I haven't had to do any TV alignments, but the sweep function on this should allow me to do the FM alignment. And the way it works is with this speaker. If you'll notice, there's a coil of wire hooked up to the tuning capacitor and a metal plate on the speaker. And as the speaker vibrates, it changes the capacitance in the circuit to create a frequency modulated signal. That's how it changes the frequency. It's got some unusual tubes in here. It looks just like a 6J5 tube, but it's got two caps on top. I think one's for the plate and the other's for the grid. Maybe that was done to reduce inter-electrode capacitance. Here's the front of the Heathkit generator. Somebody robbed all the knobs off of it. So I'll have to try and find some new ones to put on it. I got some retro decor at an estate sale recently. I got this peacock and this hexagonal decoration. I got this little metallic wire tree and these things here. I got these plates, which I've hung up here as well. Here's a Zenith tube type radio, which is from the late 50s. It has had some new capacitors put in it, but as usual, it's just kind of a patch job. Somebody just jumpered the old electrolytic, which of course is bad, and they left old paper caps in it, so it's going to need the usual repair job on it. It's very high quality Zenith radio. Here's an IBM Selectric III. Looks a lot like the Selectric II, and it works pretty well. There's a few keys that are sticky, but overall it's good. And I got a box of the type balls that go on this. These are 96 character typing elements, and they're different than the ones on the Selectric II. They're not interchangeable. This fan is in here because it needs some lubrication. It was kind of running slow and the motor was getting hot, so I tested the blades and they seem kind of gummy, so I'm going to need to thoroughly clean it out and re-lubricate it. Here's a Trav-ler AM clock radio, which also needs repair. It had some caps put in it in the mid-1960s, but still has old paper capacitors in it as well. This is a Heathkit digital clock, which really works well. It's a real substantial unit, and I don't know if these are vacuum fluorescent or LED displays. It's got all kinds of switches on it to set it. It can do 24-hour or 12-hour time. Guess I'm going to have to reset it because of daylight savings time. This is a Remington Rand typewriter, which was made in Holland. It's pretty much an exact clone of an IBM Selectric II. It works real well. The only problem is the power cord connector is loose. It's got a removable power cord, so I want to fix that before I continue to use it. Here's a Magnavox radio-phono, and I want to get this to where I can show it better, but it's see if I can hold the lid up here. This is from the late 1940s, I'd say maybe 1948. A really beautiful chrome panel. But these always had a plate for an FM tuner above the AM and shortwave tuner. The FM tuner had its own power supply and everything. But I think I've got about maybe 4 of these types of radios, and I've never seen an FM tuner on one of them. And then in here, well, I can't really pull it out. There's a Webcore phono record changer, but it only does 33 and 78. I don't think 45s had really been invented yet. I think they're still about a year away. But here's the amp. It's got 2 6L6 output tubes, a really good sized power transformer. Usually these had a separate amp chassis in the bottom of it, but this is an all-in-one tuner and amp. And it's got 2 12-inch field coil full-range speakers. There's a nice Magnavox emblem on that little shield. There's where the output transformer is. Here is an RCA radio, and I've got this sitting on its end because one of the legs is cracked. I really like the dial layout of it. It's got a tuning eye on it. And this is from 1958. It's a blonde wood cabinet. This is a Sylvania tube type AM radio. It's got a nice coral colored case. It's kind of hard to see it because of the lighting. It's got an RF amplifier stage. It's a Symphonaire. I think this is no, I guess it's not a Sylvania, it's actually a Westinghouse. Okay. Finally, here is a GE tube type radio. Let's see if I can see the dial a little bit better there. It's got a crack in the Bakelite cabinet. This may not be Bakelite, it may just be plastic, but it's got a crack here and it's got a crack underneath it as well. I may not have shown this before, but this is another Magnavox radio-phono. It's got 6V6 tubes in the amplifier. So I've really got my work cut out for me on all these radios. I've really been lucky that I found a lot over the last couple weeks or so.